We've all been in this position before. We got the whole family gathered around for the holidays, sitting at the dinner table, passing food around, and having a good time. Then Uncle Bob disturbs the peace with the atomic bomb of improper dinner etiquette. He brings up politics. The table erupts into discourse and charged rhetoric about the election, immigration, gun violence, and falls onto the most divisive topic abortion. Some good points are brought up, and some slight concessions are even made, but ultimately, those representing the pro life and pro choice stances are even more hardened in their belief that they are right and the other is wrong. So, whose stance is correct? It's hard to say when one side claims ultimate moral superiority in protecting the unborn and the other claims fundamental basic human rights to have sovereignty of the self. Americans are almost completely divided on the issue as well. According to a Gallup poll conducted in June of 2020, 48% of Americans self identified as pro choice, while 46% identified as pro life. So, does this mean that half the country believes in no abortion restrictions even up to the day before delivery, and the other half believes in no exceptions for abortions and making them all illegal? Apparently, that's not the case. In an article written by Valerie Richardson of the Washington Times, she finds a survey for a pro life group called Americans United for Life. They found that U.S. adults who identified as pro choice, 79% of those respondents rejected late term abortions. And according to an NPR article by Domenico Montanaro, a poll showed that only 13% of respondents believe Roe v. Wade should be overturned. This means the majority of Americans do not want to eliminate abortion, but they do want restrictions. So, where can we find some middle ground and where can we find a solution? I do not have a solution, but I have a proposition. A proposition that, if applied, would maintain women's property rights while simultaneously protecting the right to life for the unborn, and would accelerate medical innovation for postpartum care of premature babies. What's this insane middle of the road idea I've got? It's not my idea, but it's called evictionism. Evictionism is a moral theory that was developed by libertarian Walter Block in 1977. It was heavily influenced by Murray Rothbard's writings, which called for an anarcho-capitalist state. Walter Block is the current chair of economics in the College of Business at Loyola University, New Orleans. He received his BA in philosophy from Brooklyn College and his PhD in economics from Columbia University. He has taught at several colleges and universities and served for think tanks such as the Mises and Hoover Institutes. Block has authored 20 books and contributed over 600 articles, including 10 specifically on evictionism. Quoting from MereLiberty.com, Block has led to evictionism through two premises. Premise 1, that life begins at conception and the fetus is a rights-bearing individual, a pro-life stance. And premise 2, that a woman's body is her own and she doesn't have to allow it to be used for pregnancy against her will, a pro-choice stance. Block claims that an unwanted fetus is a trespasser and therefore is violating the rights of the woman, permitting her to act against it in self-defense. Block's view is derived from the libertarian-held viewpoint known as the non-aggression principle, which is defined by Murray Rothbard as the fundamental axiom of libertarian theory that no one may threaten or commit violence against another man's person or property. Violence may be employed only against the man who committed such violence, that is, only defensively against the aggressor. In short, no violence may be employed against a non-aggressor. But as the fetus is an innocent party that is incapable in making its decision to invade the woman's property, it had no choice in trespassing in the first place. So are they a non-aggressor? This is the paradoxical question libertarians find themselves in. This is where the process of removing the fetus from the womb comes down to gentleness. Block and those who agree with his position on the aforementioned premises diverge on what constitutes gentle removal of the fetus. Those who oppose Block are in a camp called departurist, and they claim that since the fetus is an innocent trespasser, it would violate the non-aggression principle for the removal of the fetus to lead to its death. Departurists maintain that the mother may evict the fetus, but only after it is assured that the eviction does not result in death. It follows that departurists believe the gentlest manner of removal is for the mother to carry the fetus to term. Block and other evictionists disagree with this line of thinking due to the fact that it would force the mother to allow the trespasser to maintain space in their property. Block states that while a pregnant woman should be legally required to help the fetus survive outside the body whenever that is possible, she maintains the legal right to evict the fetus at any time during her pregnancy. He agrees that the fetus is an innocent trespasser and that the eviction should be in the gentlest manner possible, but that even if the fetus is non-viable, it may still be evicted. Viability is the point at which a fetus can survive outside the mother's womb, and Block holds that a woman should not be forced to maintain the fetus in her womb until viability is reached. According to an article by G.H. Berborowicz titled Limits of Fetal Viability and Its Enhancement, the time of viability for a fetus is approximately 24 weeks of gestational age. Departuous claimed that a fetus cannot be removed until this gestational age, but Block argues this is a violation of the woman's property rights. Now let's look at an analogy set forth by Judith Thompson. You wake up in the morning and find yourself back to back in bed with an unconscious violinist. He's been found to have a fatal kidney ailment, and you alone have the right blood type to help. You have been kidnapped, and last night the violinist's circulatory system was plugged into yours so that your kidneys can be used to extract poisons from his blood as well as your own. If he is unplugged from you now, he will die, but in 9 months he will have recovered from his ailment and can safely be unplugged from you. Ignoring the fact that you were kidnapped, which in itself violates the non-aggression principle, you are involuntarily in control of the violinist's life. It would be permissible for you to unplug him from yourself even if it causes their death, because you are under no obligation to remain attached to the violinist until they recover. This carries over into the viability of a fetus and the obligation of the mother to carry it to the appropriate gestational age. Block claims that once the child is evicted, if they do not survive the viability period, that it is not the fault of the mother. He does acknowledge that this will inevitably lead to some fetal deaths, but ultimately save more in the process and furthermore lead to innovation in medical technology to lower the viability timeline. In order to preserve the life of postpartum eviction of the fetus, pro-life and anti-abortion campaigns could come together and contribute funds, time, and efforts to increasing fetal viability. A new wave of medical innovation would ultimately end up saving more non-viable fetuses and create a new sector of healthcare. So Block is an advocate for fetal rights, but not at the expense of property rights for women, which is why he sees evictionism as a middle-of-the-ground road and a proposition that most parties can agree with. I agree with Block's logic and ultimately hope that we can reach a point where fetal viability is so short that they will be able to survive after conception. I also believe this course will lead to new medical innovation. So, to recap, evictionism would maintain women's property rights while simultaneously protecting the right to life for the unborn and would accelerate medical innovation for the postpartum care of premature babies. So next time you're at the dinner table listening to Uncle Bob and Aunt Kathy debate endlessly about abortion, offer this sensible proposition to the room and start a dialogue. I think evictionism is an important start to finding a solution. We just need more people to know about it. Everything is not black and white, pro or anti, but rather a shade of gray. Thank you.